All right, so every once in a while, I will put this post on my Facebook page and ask you guys what topics you want me to discuss in Monday Coffee. And then I try to answer all the comments until like the post kind of goes quiet and it's not getting any like new comments, and then I'll wait and I'll post again a few weeks later. And I did a few last week, and last week it was mostly car related. That's like the favorite question is how's your Etzel doing? Talk about hot rods. So we focused mainly on hot rods last time, but this time I'm going to take some different questions. There's some fun ones on here that I thought would be a good one to do, like for instance Ed here, who is my spammer ninja. Ed's been a follower of mine for years and years and years, and he always used to call out like all the spam bots that would like hit on the guys in my comment feeds and try to get them to DM them so they can steal their credit card information. And him and I are now just really good friends. Like he's one of my best friends, and I don't like he's a part of my family. I don't know what I would do without Ed. So Ed said, "What can we do to make pinup and rockabilly more popular?" So I think that like it's hard because it's a type of niche thing, right? It's a very specific interest. There's not a lot of fluidity in it, right? Pinup and rockabilly is what it is, and then there's going to be people who absolutely love it and people who absolutely hate it. I've met both sides of that spectrum. There's people out there who are just absolutely turned off by pinups, which is crazy, I know. But there are people out there who are like, why do you dress like your grandma? This isn't sexy. This isn't cute. Why do you dress like they're, for some people, it isn't their thing. There's people out there who don't like hot rods. I don't get it either. I don't like that type of negativity in my life. So I don't really know anybody like it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So it is something that, the people who are going to like it are going to love it, and the people who dislike it are going to dislike it. That's okay. Everybody has their, abilities to, and opportunities and rights to like and dislike whatever they want, right? I think one of the things that you can do though is to definitely just continue to support what it is. I was thinking the other day, I have listed now on my link tree where you can sponsor full-blown pinup shoots. And doing a pinup shoot is a lot. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of money that goes into it on, our end as the actual pinups, the women that are doing it. And there's a lot that goes in with the photographers, the locations, the setting up, the entire day dedicated, all of the editing. There's a ton that goes into creating one picture that you guys will see us post. And I was thinking to myself, man, the pinup work that we're creating right now is someday going to be, way older photos that are inspiring girls to continue doing pinup way down the road. Like eventually I'm gonna be just an old lady. I already feel like an old crotchety lady, but at some point I'm gonna be this old lady that's like everybody else. I'm gonna be wrinkled and not wanting to do that type of stuff anymore because I'm just crotchety and I just want to drive my car and I don't want to put makeup on anymore. I don't want to do it. Don't tell me to put on eyeliner. Look, find the way. But realistically, the photos and the pinup art that we create right now is going to continue to inspire women and artists and photographers and stylists and everybody in the future to continue to embrace this, right? We are going to be inspiration for continued art throughout the future. So I think that like when you see people who are creating pinup art, when they're doing the photos, when we're doing the photo shoots, like investing in the continued creation of those is a really big deal to keep them going. With rockabilly artists, book the shows, buy the tickets, buy their albums, share their flyers. Really what it comes down to is just supporting and going to and enjoying it is the best way that you can really just, it's not about being popular, I don't think, because like rockabilly in general is all the people who weren't popular for the most part, right? It's kind of more of an outcast crew that didn't fit in. But I think that the more that you invest in its continuance is really what it's about. Continue to care about and support and uplift this form of genre, because the custom culture scene, I think, is one of the best scenes out there. It does have its really negative sides, but that's not really the scene as much as people, right? People, there's good people, there's bad people. So no matter what scene, no matter what genre you're in, it's going to have a mix of both, and you just have to figure out where your team is, and that's where you need to focus. And when things get negative, you don't invest your focus in those things. But when it comes down to like really the things that have fed the most positivity and self-awareness and just overall awareness of myself, the custom culture scene definitely did that. Rockabilly and pinup has got to be one of the best things that I've ever invested into to find myself in my life. So I think that the more that you buy the pinup magazines, you buy the calendars, you buy their prints, you help sponsor their photo shoots, you go to the shows that they're hosting, you go see the bands, you buy the records, like that kind of stuff is going to always be a really big deal in supporting and keeping pinup and rockabilly more mainstream than not. So book a photo shoot for me. I'm just kidding. Unless you want to. Definitely sponsor. There's a lot of perks in it. If you sponsor one of my pinup photo shoots, you get a lot of goodies for being the person that's responsible for making it happen. So check it out and DM me. All right, so else on here is Jonathan Jury. We all love Jonathan. Jonathan is my Taco Bell gift card in exchange for Prince Barter King. He brings me a lot of happiness and joy. He said, do you watch old school black and white Nior films? And if so, who are your favorite femme fatale actresses? So I'll have to admit, those aren't necessarily my favorites. I love them. I appreciate what they are. And I absolutely love the aesthetic. I love the genre. I love the time. I love, my favorite thing about those types of movies is like looking at the sets and the backgrounds and everything like that. But honestly, like I'm a little bit further. So like, I prefer movies from like the 40s and 50s, and usually from like the newer films are more like 30s and back. But some of my favorite movies to watch when I was a kid were Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers movies, and a lot of them are in black and white. And I remember the first time my grandma she brought home Swing Time and Carefree for me, and I think without even really understanding, I was just in love with Fred Astaire, and not in like, ooh, I have a crush on him, but like I was just in awe of this man's abilities, even more so than Ginger Rogers, you know, because with her, I like lusted after her wardrobe, to say the least. I was absolutely just flabbergasted by the beautiful like feathered dresses that she would wear, but there's just something so otherworldly about Fred Astaire and his abilities that it was hypnotizing almost, and it's something that I really fell in love with when I was younger, and I would watch those two movies over and over and over and over again, and then I would put on my life-size Barbie's outfits, because yes, I was small enough to wear my life-size Barbie's clothes, and I would reenact all of the dancing in my grandma's living room. So I'm more of those generational movies, but I do love the old school black and white Nior films. I think that they're just so beautifully done, and they're such their own pieces of art, but it's definitely not my strongest like knowledge. It's not something that I like heavily follow or am super into. So I feel like I would be discrediting people who really care about that if I were to be like, well, let me, because I don't really know as much. I'm more of a 40s and then before. So yes. Let's see, what else do we have on here? Dawn Ray asked, did you read comics growing up? If so, what? You'd make a good World War II pinup. Thank you, Dawn. I didn't read comics growing up. You know, I came from a really sheltered and like, I don't even really know how to say it. Everything in my world was always very minimal to like what other people around me were interested in. So like a lot of the things I was exposed to were other people's interests, and then I got to get on board with them. And comic books were never a thing really in my family. And it wasn't until, you know, I had kids, because my kids are super into comics, especially my 12-year-old. it was probably one of the first things that he really grabbed onto. He loves comics. He likes writing his own comics. He even made me a comic once for my birthday. And I was super doll, and it was just the most amazing thing in the world. So I personally can't say that I have a favorite comic or I know a lot about comics, but I am a big supporter of the art of comics. In my industry and in, you know, just what I do, I've come across a lot of actual like comic book artists and illustrative artists and people who create art pieces in the form of, like, I guess you could say like a comic book type feel and energy, and a lot of that embodies retro and pinup, and I love to follow those types of artists. I think they're probably one of my favorite types of artists to follow. I personally don't have a lot of knowledge in it, just like my previous question, so I'm not going to be like, I know all these things. I'm definitely not a know-it-all. I can admit when I don't know. I don't really know a lot about them, but I definitely appreciate the art style. And I think that some of the pieces that I've fallen the most in love with, when like Instagram is probably one of my favorite places for those. So I really do love comic book art. I think that they hold a really huge place in like our literature history type, like, because it is a form of literature, right? So it's like literature and art mixed together. And that just sounded dumb, Emily. That just sounded dumb. I'm gonna call myself out on that. That sounded dumb. Patricia's like, girl, you sound like an idiot right now. I was like, I can't not say something about that. So, I would say that, but just in general, I think that comic books are really fun. I think that the art behind them is really fun. When that movie Sin City came out, I never actually saw those movies, but I remember all of the like posters and advertising for them, and I absolutely loved them. So that's gonna be it for those questions for this week. There's a couple more questions that I will answer next week, but that's gonna be it for the DollFAM topic choice questions that I answer. Thank you so much for submitting. I appreciate your time and effort.